So if you don't mind, I think I'm going to hop right into it. So I'll say good evening to all of our On Point family and happy second official Monday in spring. I'm Leslie. I'm one of the registered dietitians with On Point. For those of you who don't know me, I've been with the On Point team for over a year now. And prior to joining the On Point family, I worked predominantly in the sports nutrition world on various teams before shifting into private practice and really helping clients with a more weight loss geared focus. And joining me this evening, fun little tag team duo, is another one of the lovely On Point dietitians, Liz Cook, and I'll let her say a few words about herself.
Hi, everyone. So I'm Liz. Like Leslie said, I'm another one of the dietitians here at On Point. So before joining the On Point team, I also worked with some sports teams, but I also worked as a campus dietitian at a university. I did a little bit of private practice and some corporate wellness in Philly earlier in my career. But I'm excited to be with you all this afternoon or this evening, or if you're watching the recording, and I'll let Leslie go ahead and get us started.
Awesome. Thank you, Liz. Okay. So, all right, friends, let's hop right into tonight's webinar. This evening, we'll be covering various ideas on ways to capitalize on the new season. I don't know if we have any Philadelphia area local friends right now, but although it may not feel like spring today, it is officially spring and warmer weather is coming. Our Thursday looks beautiful. We got 30s right now, but we're looking at 70s later on. So tonight, we'll get a jump start on the season by chatting on such topics as spring cleaning your space, focusing on including more seasonal produce in your diet, using the shift in weather to really transition into cooler meals, spicing up mundane salads to include lots of fun new additions, and additional ways to soak up the spring season and what new opportunities it may bring to you. First up, let's chat spring cleaning with Liz.
Perfect. So I love the idea that a clean space is a positive space. So I was recently listening to a podcast where they were talking about cluttered spaces causing cluttered minds. And I'm sure some of you also feel that. And when our spaces are clean and organized, we feel at peace in them and we can use them optimally. So using spring to clean up is a great idea. I know I'm more excited to be in my kitchen when it's good, deeply cleaned. So it might be time to break out your rubber gloves, give everything a good scrub. And while you're on your cleaning spree, it's also helpful to clean out your kitchen as well. So we've all opened a cabinet and realized that there are multiple containers of the same ingredient because we bought one forgetting that there was one or two in the back. We've also all pulled something out and realized that it expired many years ago. So taking time to clean everything out and take inventory of your pantry, fridge, and freezer can help you to streamline your grocery process and also prevent overbuying things. So knowing what you already have can also spark some ideas for maybe meals you haven't made in a long time, or maybe things that you want to bring back into your rotation. So while you're taking inventory, check the expirations and then refresh what you need. It's also helpful to know where everything is in your kitchen to work efficiently. So taking some time to reorganize and label spaces can be helpful. Your spice cabinet might be one. I don't know what yours looks like, but mine always gets a little untidy. So bringing everything together makes cooking a little easier. It's also more aesthetically pleasing, right? It makes you want to open that cabinet and it can encourage you to try some ingredients that maybe you're not using as often. And if you're feeling really ambitious, you can even rearrange some of your cabinets and drawers. If you're constantly moving across the kitchen for something, maybe your spoons are not conveniently located, moving things around can help you to rearrange a little bit. You can also start to move around some things like appliances, pots, pans. If things are inaccessible and you're not using them, moving them to a better space might be helpful. And then as it warms up, you can also find yourself shifting to different foods, right? So maybe you have a grill, it's time to clean it off. Maybe you have to clean snow off it today, like Leslie said, who knows? But if you're ready to shift toward cooler meals in the spring and summer, it might also be time to bring out your blender and get tools ready so you can feel inspired and ready for the next season. But speaking of grilling and smoothies, I'll let Leslie take, there we go, perfect. So let's talk about seasonal produce a little bit. So as we head into the new season, new produce items will become available and you'll start to see things that are local and freshly grown around. So fresh seasonal produce is always packed with nutrients. The longer a fruit or veggie sits and waits to be harvested after they reach the table, the longer it has for the nutrients to start to break down. So the quicker that you eat something after harvest, the more vitamins, minerals, and other nutrients there are in it. So if you can buy locally grown produce that's vine ripened naturally, as opposed to picked early and then allowed to ripen during transportation, you're going to get even more nutrients. Local produce can also be less expensive, and it's also better for the environment because there's less transportation, so there's less cost and less pollution. And if you've never looked for a local farmers market or CSA in your area, it might be a good time to start to try some different local produce items. Obviously, produce will vary what's available based on your region, but we can start to look at some different things that are available in the spring. Perfect. So just to run through some of these, arugula is a cooler weather crop that starts to become available in early spring. Asparagus is usually harvested in around March, so perfect timing here. Beets and carrots are available year round, but most often harvested in the spring. Lettuces come into season as the weather starts to warm up. New potatoes, which are like the little spring potatoes with very thin skins, are also in season at this point. Peas and spinach are both in season during spring and then also in summer, so they'll hang around for a little bit. Apricots and cherries both come into season later in spring as well. Grapefruit is traditionally grown in California, Texas, Florida, Arizona, warmer climates, but it does start to come into season in January and then last through the early spring. Lemons are best in the spring as well. And then strawberries also grown in those warmer climates, California, Florida, for the most part. April, May, June are their peak harvest time. But if you're curious about spring produce in your area, there are some really good resources. Seasonalfoodguide.org is a really great space. You can search by your state and the season or the month, and it will give you ideas of what's good to use in your area.
All right, thank you, Liz. So after talking about what's in season, one fun way to spice things up going between winter and spring transitions is to begin to shift towards enjoying meals that are cooler. We can go about cooking in a different way. So maybe we put the Instant Pot and the crock pot aside for the blender, food processor, and the grill. Some potential ideas for this can include smoothies. We all love a smoothie, right? There are lots and lots of options for these. And we have many fun combos available on our website. You can take it the protein smoothie route, or you can make yours more produce based. One tip for putting a new spin on a classic recipe may be by taking one that's already familiar to you and then using frozen ice cubes or juice or milk in it. So you could take a beverage or something in your fridge that you may not have a lot more shelf life with. It could be anything from Gatorade to an orange juice, chocolate milk that might be about to turn, a protein drink, or leftover fruit purees like pumpkin, you know, when you have like a half a can left from making a bread, and you can freeze it into silicone ice molds and then throw those little cubes into your smoothies, just to kind of add a little different spin on flavor here. So smoothies, definitely one cold option. Salads. So spring is a great reason to really up your veggie intake since there's so many in-season ones, as Liz mentioned. But we're going to talk about ways tonight to make salads a little bit more exciting and add some variety to them in the coming slides. You could also take something like your hot or baked oatmeal dishes that you were doing a lot in the winter to stay warm and switch them out for a cold overnight version. You can also simplify your meals and try different whole grains for sandwiches. So tortillas, pita pockets, English muffins, they all make fun sandwich vehicles. And let's eschew norms here. Sandwiches don't need to be saved just for lunch. If a meal doesn't feel complete without some heat, you can always throw a sandwich on the grill, the panini press, or stovetop and put a little crisp on the outside to elevate it, if you will. But a meal doesn't have to be the traditional like protein starch veggie in the form of chicken, rice, and broccoli. A sandwich can satisfy this equation too in a simpler way. You can also opt to use your fresh greens like bib lettuce or collard greens and romaine lettuce to create lettuce tacos or lettuce wraps. And a lot of people practice Lent this time of year, so don't miss out on trying cold protein-based salads like egg, tuna, and shrimp, and you can stuff these into avocados or tomatoes for a different vehicle instead of the traditional bread or lettuce option. Alternatively, you can opt to do a cold veggie side dish. Maybe you use some like marinated mushrooms or tomatoes for a different spin on what you're pairing your main protein with. If you don't feel like making these yourself, many grocery store olive bars, the deli counters, and even the canned goods aisles offer these already prepped and ready to go. We can also use spring as a time to hone in on different types of starches. So maybe shifting away from hot pasta and potato sides in favor of cold pasta, potato, quinoa, and corn and bean salads. The beautiful photo pictured here is actually from our On Point Nutrition website. It's the avocado and corn salad. It's actually great on a burger too. You need some creative juices there. We also have our gazpachos. So these are cold soups and they can replace the hearty stews and chilies that the cold weather may have steered you towards. Gazpacho need not be in the form of just a tomato base. Cucumber, watermelon, and tomatillos are delicious in cold soup form as well. You can add some crunch to them by topping them with nuts and seeds or tortilla strips and fun cheeses like cotija and feta. And of course, a meal need not be a traditional protein veggie starch. You can absolutely make a meal out of a snack board or a bento box. Oftentimes cutting things up and portioning them off in boxes where foods don't touch each other can be more acceptable to young children and get them to try new foods. So this might be a fun strategy to try seasonally with your kiddos at home as well. All right, so we alluded to this, but let's dive a little bit more into salads in specific. I feel like they can get a bad rep for being really boring. So if we add variety, they don't feel so mundane. And I'll share some examples of this on the next slides. But definitely don't feel like you need to just utilize traditional fixings. I like to make what I call kitchen sink salads, where I'll throw all manner of leftovers I have left in the fridge on top of a bed of lettuce and grains and repurpose a meal into a new version of a salad. If you're not sure where to start, you can always look to salad kits that are sold in the grocery stores for a bit of inspiration. They're often sold as a themed kit, like a Southwest salad or an everything but the bagel salad or a dill pickle salad. There's nothing wrong with using salad kits for convenience, and they can get the creativity gears turning for you. So maybe you don't need to use the salad kit form down the line. I'm also a big fan of mixing hot and cold foods. So maybe when you grill out one night, you could take a grilled veggie or meat kebab and throw it on a greens base. It can also be fun to make a salad out of intentionally wilted greens and using that as the base to serve your main dish, like a piece of salmon on top of some wilted spinach. And having a warm poached or runny egg over greens is a classic. That yolk aids in creating the dressing for the salad. Pictured here is actually our copycat Panera Fuji apple chicken salad. This is a client favorite for sure. It's a great combo of fruit chips, chopped nuts, and warm grilled chicken and fresh onion and cheese atop of greens of your choice. It's a nice variety of textures and colors in a bowl. So let's explore the idea of variety and texture a little further. All right, salad bases. Let's think outside of the salad box. Traditionally, greens serve as our base for a salad, but you don't need to stay within those confines. What about the idea of using a grain as your base? Some examples include rice, quinoa, barley, farro, or an alternative starch like cooked and chopped sweet potato cubes. Some other spins on base options could be taking a whole wheat tortilla and crisping it in the oven in a dish mold to make it into a homemade taco shell. You could also experiment with different pastas. Orzo and couscous definitely come to mind. And then cabbage or a coleslaw mix, whether it's raw or already cooked, it could be warm or cooled, those can all lend to being a salad base as well. And then my personal favorite, what about a flatbread or a pizza crust? Some clients will take a non-traditionally veggie heavy item like pizza or flatbread and make it into salad pizza. You really load the veggies on top of your pizza or your wrap or your flatbread base, and then you use a knife and fork to eat slices of it to really maximize on the amount of veggie toppings you can add. It's a growing trend and easy to see why. You kind of get the best of both worlds, salad and pizza all wrapped into one. Now, after we decide on our base, the toppings are clutch. They're where we can really drive flavor, add texture, and spice things up. Of course, we have the traditional raw veggie toppings, your salad that you'll get at a restaurant with a couple cherry tomatoes and some shredded carrots. But don't be afraid to mix it up with leftover veggies that you have from side dishes as well. So maybe you have leftover sauteed zucchini and onions from the night before. Throw that on top there. There really aren't any rules here. The same goes for starches. Throw your extra couscous side on top or your extra lentils and kind of make it fun. Chopped fresh herbs like mint, cilantro, oregano, They provide a lot of flavor and mesh well in salads without adding to the overall energy intake. And you can get great texture through adding fresh or dried fruits. Some that come to mind: berries, apple chips, dried and fresh mango, you could go craisins or apricots. And then don't forget about your veggie chips to add some crunch. Crushed kale chips, beet chips, okra chips, they can all add extra texture. A new favorite, what about plantains? This is kind of a fun alternative starch to bring into the mix. Trader Joe's even sells plantain croutons. And then dried or fresh beans, chickpeas, edamame. These are all fun additions that are also going to increase the protein content of your salad. Oftentimes I'll use dried chickpeas like the Vienna snacks, and I'll use them in place of croutons completely. Nuts, seeds, other grilled and marinated veggies, these can all be fun additions to the salad party. So now that we have our base, as well as some of our toppings, how are we going to make this into a meal? Well, I generally feel like a salad is not complete, especially if it's being served as your main meal without some sort of protein on top. Some options that you might not always think to add as proteins include cottage cheese, falafel, lox, leftover sushi or sushi grade fish. You could put your ceviche on there if you have some leftover from a night out, deli meats, and then vegetarian protein sources like tofu and tempeh. Now for the best part, the dressing, the proverbial icing on the salad cake. Traditional options are great, and there are many on the market. Bolthouse Farms is definitely a personal favorite brand, but making salad dressing is really quite simple. You could make one from olive oil, squeeze a citrus, some vinegar, fresh herbs, and other condiments you have at home. My personal favorite is pureeing fresh blueberries and garlic cloves together and then adding it to olive oil and red wine vinegar. You could opt for just a squeeze of fresh lemon juice, or you could use this as an opportunity to add extra veggies in the form of a flavorful salsa or pico de gallo as your topping. Remember, half a cup of these Mexican flair favorites can be counted as an additional veggie too. So veggies on your veggies. Hummus and Greek yogurt dips are great add-ons as well. And then you could make your own dressing combo with just traditional household condiments like honey, different mustards, and hot sauces. Other ways to add creativity without really drawing from anything other than your condiments portions. So we really went down the salad rabbit hole there. Now I'm going to pass the spring into health torch back to Liz with some other ideas on ways to capitalize on the season. Go for it, Liz.
Yeah, so as the seasons start to shift and the weather starts to get warm, getting outside and soaking up the season becomes more and more appealing. Maybe not every day of spring, but we certainly have those days. So getting outside and breathing fresh air is great for your physical and mental health. If you can't get outside, try to open the windows, get some fresh air, something like that, just to switch up your space a little bit. If your schedule does allow it, try to block time midday for a walk outdoors. I try to take my dog out at lunch every day. It is such a nice break midday. I know everyone on our team loves to do this. So if you're doing it, tag us on Instagram. We would love to tag you back. But maybe you can find a coworker, a neighbor, someone else to be your walking accountability buddy, whether it is in person or virtual. Many of us also recently changed our clocks, so we get a little bit more evening light. Getting that extra hour of daylight in the evening can be really helpful and allow us to utilize the extra hour to spend time outside if that's possible for you. If it's possible to get outside when it's light, sunlight has been shown to help regulate our circadian rhythms and can help us improve our sleep schedules, something that we talk to clients about all the time. So really specifically, exposing yourself to sunlight in the morning can help energize you throughout the rest of the day and can also help you sleep better at night, even that sunlight, even hours and hours ago. This is because sunlight can help impact your hormones and it can change your stress hormones, including cortisol and serotonin, which are stress and happiness hormones. So experts recommend getting 30 to 45 minutes of direct sunlight within the first hour after you wake up. If that's not realistic, we're all about realistic here. So instead of viewing this as all or nothing, try to prioritize sun exposure for at least a few minutes each day. I think Leslie has a few more ideas about how to get some more newness into our new season. So I'm going to give it back to her again.
Awesome. Thank you, Liz. Yes, I do. So new season, new opportunities. It can be fun to use this transition to bring something fresh into your routine. So why not use the season change as a catalyst to revamp your recipe index? And we can help get you started with a few of the on-point nutrition recipes that we'll be sharing in the coming slides. Or you could use the season as an opportunity to try a new meal subscription. Sunbasket, Imperfect Foods, and Purple Carrot have a really strong emphasis on eating seasonally. And you might even find a discount code for one of the above on our website. Kind of just a fun way to, it adds a little element of surprise into your meals, if you will. You could get involved with your community by joining a CSA or a community supported agriculture. This is where you purchase a share of a local farm's crops, and then you receive a weekly or bi-weekly allotment, depending on how you've agreed to it, of their locally grown goods. So you're supporting your community while also eating seasonally. And oftentimes CSAs will provide opportunities to actually work on the farm where your food is being grown. So it's fun to get kids involved with that, or just to kind of get outside more. And they often give you the opportunity to purchase other protein items like cage-free eggs, grass-fed meats, and dairies, in addition to the produce goods that you're getting. If a farmer's market might be more your style instead of a CSA, many are starting back up this season, and it's another fun way to eat fresh foods and support local farmers and vendors. You could use the spring season as a way to experiment with a more plant-based lifestyle. So maybe meatless Mondays or adding in more vegetarian protein sources might be a fun way to do this in a sustainable way. And of course, bringing into health doesn't have to just include nutrition. My clients know that I'm very big on movement. So we could use the season to try a new form of fitness. Maybe it's a class, or maybe you experiment with taking a favorite class outdoors, like a boot camp outside, beach yoga, a Tai Chi community class. It just might be a fun way to get some vitamin D while also staying active. And if you're feeling like you might need a refresh in terms of your goals, why not experiment and use this season as an option to start tracking a new metric? So a new metric could be something like the time you spend outdoors each day, or your sleep quality at night, your energy levels, the number of veggies you've eaten daily, the number of weeks you've been consistent with honoring a meatless Monday. It doesn't matter what you choose, just adding some newness into your weekly monitoring can often spark some additional motivation. So I know I alluded to this earlier, and since we've talked so much tonight about spring produce, we wouldn't want to send you off for the evening without sharing some seasonal recipes with you folks. So hot off the presses, last week was the development of this spicy peanut and chopped chicken salad. The salad creation puts a lot of the spice up your salad tips into actual practice. It calls for a variety of colored veggies. It utilizes fresh cut herbs in the flavoring, topped with some crunch in the form of peanuts and sesame seeds. And perhaps the most fun thing about this salad is that it calls for a homemade dressing. So it can help get you comfortable with the idea of not needing to rely on store-bought options and being able to make your own. And the extra dressing can be used in all manner of fun ways. You could use it on a different salad entirely, or you could use it as a marinade for proteins and veggies. We would track this beauty as 2 fats, 1 protein, and 1.5 veggie portions. On to Liz with another fun springy recipe.
Yeah, we must have been in a peanut mood when we decided to put this together. So a PB&J smoothie bowl. So like we talked about, smoothies and smoothie bowls are a great way to enjoy cool, healthy, delicious breakfast, or even lunches or snacks. This smoothie bowl contains acai, as well as berries and banana to get you some fruit, some peanut butter, oat milk, and protein powder to balance it all out and help you satisfy your cravings, as well as keep you full throughout the morning. I like to pour my smoothies into a bowl sometimes, little granola on top, like the photo shows. It makes it a little bit more fun. The crunch factor from a salad can be used in a smoothie bowl as well. Smoothies are also super easy to customize. So you can absolutely take this and feel free to try a different kind of fruit, different nut or seed butter. You can try milk, like a non-dairy milk or something like that as well. You can also play with different flavors of protein powder if that's something that you enjoy, for a little bit more variety. You could always add a serving of veggies as well. So we traditionally think of adding spinach or kale. You can even add frozen cauliflower. I love to do this, and I promise you don't taste it, but you can just throw the frozen cauliflower in with your frozen fruits. You won't even notice. It'll make it nice and thick. We do have plenty of other smoothie recipes on the website, including one that includes cauliflower. So you can feel free to filter the recipes tab to smoothies underneath meals to find them there. And this one would count as 2 fat, half a serving of protein, 2 fruit, in a condiment. If you throw some granola on, you'll add a little fat and starch for that, but you can always customize it to meet your goals as well.
I love what you said about adding extra veggies that are like non-traditional smoothie veggies into this, Liz. I also have clients that will do frozen bell pepper strips, or I have someone that does frozen butternut squash. So like really the world is your oyster with the smoothie, folks.
It is. And it's fun to play with them. So lots to wrap up. We don't want to keep you all night. So to wrap things up, we wanted to highlight a few of the topics that we discussed this evening. So taking time to clean and organize your kitchen can go a long way in making cooking more efficient and exciting. Finding out what produce is in season near you can help you get extra nutrients and also hopefully save some money. Shifting to cooler meals, including salads and smoothies, the ones that we just looked at together, are also helpful as the weather warms up. And then getting outside and soaking up the sun and fresh air is really important. So we want to embrace the new opportunities during this new season. So thank you all for coming this evening. We do have about 4 minutes left, so we will hang out and answer questions. If you have them, feel free to send them in the chat box. Feel free to send them to everyone or to us as panelists. If we don't get to your question, don't worry. You can always discuss it with your dietitian or your nutritionist on your next call.
We would love that. Definitely ask us about spring produce and ways to make this work for you. We'll just hang out for a little while and see if anything comes up. Can you see the chat box well, Liz?
I can. So I'll keep a look. Feel free if you have somewhere that you have to run. Thank you for coming. Yes. Thank you very much. Thanks, Randy.
We love our On Point family.
We do.
Liz, what are you having for dinner tonight? Anything springy?
The salads.
There you go.
With a little Honeycrisp apple and dried cherries.
Ooh.
So I'm like, you're talking. I'm like, oh, we're doing this.
There you go.
How about you?
I'm doing our egg roll in a bowl recipe. That's my dinner tonight. And I was just thinking like why I could totally have the leftovers cold on top of a bed of greens and make like a funky new salad out of it. I think that might be what I do tomorrow. So
I like it. Like it. Anyone can tell us what they're eating for dinner too, please.
You love that. And also I know that we kind of stress that we have a pretty big social media presence, but we would love to follow you on Instagram. All of our handles are there. So please feel free to reach out as well over that medium.
Yeah, I saw a question about CSAs in our local area. One of my lovely clients. I will follow up with you personally, but I was just Google. Like Google is my first place for everything for farmers markets. Like I moved to Pittsburgh not too long ago. First week I'm here Googling farmers markets in Pittsburgh. Google can go a long way, but we'll chat specifically to the beautiful person who answered.
I feel like local cities and townships often put together lists of those as well. So if you have like Doylestown's, like buckscounty.com or whatever, wherever you happen to live, they probably have a consolidated reference for you.
Yeah. Or even when you see like the bulletin boards in like coffee shops or outside of your grocery store, a lot of the time there will be things pinned up there. So I feel like that's a great place to check too.
Yeah, CSAs are really awesome. I've done it in the past and like you get a ton of produce. You get to kind of choose how much you need, but it's probably more than you're accustomed to. So we can also, as your dietitians, help you figure out how to use it, freeze it, smoothie it. But yeah, it's really fun.
Yeah, it's a lot of outside of your comfort zone too, because you're not always totally in control. So it's fun to try something different.
Sure.
But yeah, perfect. Well, as always, this webinar has been recorded. It will be found on the webinars tab on the On Point member portal. You will all also receive an email with more information of the recording of the webinar shortly, like later tonight, tomorrow, at some point like that. If you need any additional support, please feel free to discuss it with your dietitian or nutritionist. If you think of questions later, please ask them. But thank you all for joining us. Happy spring.
Yes, thank you so much, guys. We appreciate and love our On Point family. Oh, thank you. Bye, guys. Have a good night.
Bye.